Hello guys, in this lecture I would like to explain about time series analysis, what is meant by time series and what is meant by time series analysis and what are the objectives of time series analysis. You can see in the logo that there is R in our studio, but this lecture will not include something which we will do with the R in our studio, but after this lecture we will have some combination of theoretical lecture and work with the R in R studio. So let's move to the slides lecture that what is meant by a time series and what are the objectives of time series analysis. You can see the definition of time series that a time series is a collection of observation made sequentially through time. Example occur in variety of fields ranging from economics, engineering, and method of analyzing time series constitute an important area of statistics. There are a lot of examples you can say of time series like engineering and meteorology and climatology, hydrology, finance, stock market, etc. I would like to write something with the pen so that I can explain in detail. So let me do that. You can see examples of time series. We begin with some example of sort of the time series that rise in the practice economics and financial time series. So this is one of the important time series. You can see inflation, economic growth, GDP. These are some of the example. You can see more example. Many time series are routinely recorded in economic and finance. And of course, every government has this time series data. Example include share prices and successive days, export total in successive months, average income in successive month, company profit in successive years, and so on. So these are a lot of examples. The classic average wheat price in index series consists of the average wheat price in nearly 50 places in various countries merged in successive years from 1500 to 1869. So this is the reference. This means that this is the one of the longest data which I can think. 1500 to 1869, longest time series. So any data which is recorded sequentially in time, you can say that data as a time series data. You can see time series in other area as well. In meteorology, you can see that the temperature recorded on hourly basis or daily basis or monthly basis. That is your time series. Similarly, precipitation, you can record precipitation, mere precipitation for month or monthly basis or daily basis, or you can say on hourly basis in some places, then there is a time series. And similarly, you can measure other variable, meteorological variable, you can measure river flow on some frequency with the time, then that is your time series for that variable. Okay, so you can see that this was the time series which we discussed in this slide. This is this time series that the, the beverage and this data is from 1500 to 1869 and this you can plot this data like this. It will look like this. I will show you that how you can plot this data in the next lecture. In the coming lectures, how you can read this data and or from that package and how we can draw this. But today I will focus on the objective and this stuff. Physical time series. You can see you can also have physical time series. I will write something here, maybe later, not now. Okay. Okay, physical time series. Many types of time series occur in the physical science, particularly in meteorology, marine sciences, and geophysics. So that was general time series, and now we can have some specific, as we also discussed some specific, that was economic and financial time series, and this is physical time series and geophysics. Example are rainfall on successive days and air temperature measured in successive hours, days, or month at a particular meteorological station. And suppose you can say in Canada, United States, Russian. Russia, Europe, anywhere in the world. So that is your time series for that variable. And now types of time series. Let's see what are the types of time series. You can see that a time series is said to be continuous when observation are made continuously through time in the following. Okay, in this figure you can see this is continuous time series just going and there is no break. So this is a continuous time series which variable can be measured over time. A time series is said to be discrete when the observations are taken only at specific time, usually equally spaced. Okay, over time, like hourly basis, monthly, daily basis, monthly basis, yearly basis, like GDP, etc. The term discrete is used for series of this type, even when the variable is a continuous variable. Remember, this is very important. The variable can be continuous, but if you measure that variable for an hour basis or daily basis, then that variable we can that time series is called discrete time series. However, the variable is by itself is continuous. Like I will say temperature. Temperature is a continuous variable. Precipitation is continuous variable. But when you measure that temperature on hourly basis, then that time series is discrete, but the variable is of course continuous. Generally, we are talking about discrete time series where the observations are taken at equal intervals. So this is general comment. Time series analysis. What is mean by a time series analysis? This is important because you know about time series, that the data which is recorded sequentially in time. Now let's see what is mean by time series analysis. This is important because it can be asked a question that what is time series, and then the next question might be that what is mean by time series analysis. Okay, much statistical theory is concerned with the random sample of independent observation. The special feature of time series analysis is that the fact that the successive observations are usually not independent and that the analyst must take into account the time order of the observation. This is important because usually we say that the data is independently distributed and sometimes we say identically distributed normal in statistics, but in time series the data is not independent of each other. And this is the thing which we try to capture this correlation between the variable, and then we build a model, and then we do forecasting. So this should be taken into account. When successive observations are dependent, future values may be predicted from past observation. This is true. So we need to capture, the purpose is to capture that dependency in the data by using some time series model. And if you capture that dependency, then you can go ahead and you can do forecasting by using the best model. If the time series can be predicted exactly, it is said to be deterministic. However, most time series are stochastic in that the future is only partially determined by the past values. So what exact prediction are impossible and must be replaced by the idea that the future values have a probability distribution which is conditioned on the knowledge of the past values. So this is true that normally this is not, this is very rare cases maybe there as I did not see by the way this, but if you predict a time series then that is deterministic. However, this is really difficult and maybe very rare in the real life, uh, because there is always some uncertainty and some randomness. And I should mention one of the statement of J.P. Bucks, which is one of the most famous statistician, and particularly in time series analysis. He says that essentially all models are wrong, but some are useful. So this is a very important statement and very you know informative statement. Which means that all models are wrong. It means that you cannot predict exactly the observed data, but the model can give you some idea, some guideline for policy making and for guidance. So that's means that all models are wrong, Essentially, all models are run, but some are useful. And now let's move to the objective of time series. So there are four objective of time series. I would like to write this now. So you can write before going to the objective, you can write time series like this. I think I want to see this again. What? Okay, time series. Okay, time series is just like you can write this like suppose this is a YOT, this is a time series, and for D equal to suppose you can take 0, 1, 2 if you're starting from 0, and let me change this. Okay, so you can write now little board. This is equal to this is for T equal to 0, 1, 2, and so on. So this is your time series which you record the value at. It's made temperature, precipitation on economics and financial time series, etc. Now the objective of time series analysis. What are the objectives of time series analysis? Objectives of time series analysis. The first objective is the first objective is a description. When presented with a time series, the first step is a time analysis is usually to plot the observation against time to give what is called a time plot and then to obtain simple descriptive measures of the main properties of the time series. So the first objective is description of the data. This is very important because you can see some different aspect of the data when you plotting the data. Plotting is very important. You can see the data and you can see there is a pattern in this data. The power of the time plot as descriptive tool as explained illustrated by figure this one. So you can see how we can see in detail this data. If you summarize the data only by some summary statistic, which may be not very clear, which clearly shown that there is a regular seasonal effect with wine sales high in the third quarter and low in the first quarter of each year. This means that you need to plot the data before moving forward further analysis that you can see different aspect insights from the data. This is the data which I took from the book, but you can I took this from this graph from the book written by Chatfield. But you can have your own data and you can explore the data by plotting. So plotting is one of the most important thing and the first thing you need to do in time series analysis. For some series, the variation is dominated by such obvious features and a fairly simple model which only attempt to describe trend and seasonal variation may perfectly educate to describe the variation in the time series. So this means that when you have such type of trend and seasonality, very obvious trend and seasonality for these type of time series, a very simple model which capture trend and seasonality is perfectly okay. You can do that with that model. For other time series, more sophisticated techniques will be required to provide educated analysis. And maybe for other, you need some strong models, complex models. The second objective of time series analysis is explanation. I will explain this rather here. So the first one was description. I think that was description. The first one was description. The second one is explanation. The second one is explanation. An explanation you need to try to find some suitable model for the data. In a regression model, you're doing like this alpha plus beta x plus epsilon, and then you say how much variation in the dependent variable is explained by the independent variable. Mean that how much percent variation in the dependent variable is explained by the independent variable. Similarly, for time series, you are doing to find some suitable model like alpha plus beta y t minus 1. This should be t like this, t minus 1 plus epsilon t. So it's not necessarily this is the perfect model. Maybe you need to add more like values of the dependent variable and so on. So in explanation, you need to find the best model for the data. And other words, you need to find the model which represent the process, the industry process, the company process, or the environmental process, or whatever, because these models help us to represent the process, and then we predict those the future values of those processes by using these model. Like you can say, you can model precipitation by using some time series model. This means that that environmental process, the precipitation, is represented by a model, and then you can do prediction for that process by using statistical model. Remember, this is very important. So this is about explanation. You can read about this in books and other things, something like that, and you can see this. There's some text available here. And neo prediction. One of the important objective of time series is prediction. Prediction is important because the policymaker need this thing. Prediction. When you can do prediction, when you have the model, then you can do prediction for the future. So this is the first one is to find the model, and then you do prediction with the fitted model, the best fitted model. And this is of course based on the previous information, which on the basis of which you build the model. So you can do prediction by using the best fit model. Given an observed time series, one may want to predict the future values of the series. This is an important task and share forecasting. Of course, everywhere this is important for policymakers to make their future policies. And in the analysis of economic and industrial time series, many writers use the terms prediction and forecasting interchangeably. Remember, this is a very important question. Many writers use the term predictions and forecasting interchangeably, but note that some authors do not. For example, Brown 1963 used prediction to describe subjective methods and forecasting to describe objective methods. So this is some author can use this interchangeably, but other not. Now the important thing, the last objective, maybe there's other objective as well, but these four are the main and important objectives. Control. Let's see the text. Time series are sometimes collected or analyzed so that to improve control over some physical or economic system. Remember that you can represent physical and economic system by a time series model. Remember, because this is important to understand. For example, when a time series is generated that measures the quality of manufacturing process, the aim of the analysis may be to keep the process operating at a high level. Control problems are closely related to prediction in many situations. For example, if one can predict that the manufacturing process is going to move off target, then the appropriate corrective action can be taken. Control procedure vary considerably in style and sophistication. And statistical quality control reservation are plotted or on control chart, and controller takes action as a result of studying the chart. A more complicated type of approach is based on modeling the data and using model to work out the optimal control strategy. Okay, I will just explain this. That let's suppose you have a model. Suppose you have a model alpha plus beta 1 yt minus 1 plus beta 2 yt minus 2 plus epsilon t, but the fitted model will not include epsilon, so this will be the model, your model. This represents a particular system or temperature or precipitation. So you can see that when you are predicting their time series in the future, for example, 3, 4 values, 5 values, and you see that then one value which is going very high or value which is going very low, you will see, you will be, because remember that this model now represent the system, the physical system or the economic system, remember. So it means that you are predicting that economic system, that environmental system, that physical system. So if the value is going very high or low, you should worry about that and you should talk to the administration about that there is some problem in the system or you need to do some adjustment. Maybe you cannot do in economic and environmental, but you can do in the industrial or this process. You need to do some things, take some actions to control those values which are going very low or going high, in the control limits. So this is the one of the objective that you can use this for control. So in this lecture we learn about that what is time series, what is mean by time, what are the types of time series, and means what is time series analysis, and then what are the objectives of time series. The four objectives of time series which are very important are description, explanation, prediction, and quality control. Uh, uh, I hope this helped you in understanding the basic concepts. If you like the content, please subscribe the lecture and see you in the next video. Ciao.